We were reading about the world Redeemer's heavy task. And we came to this mysterious passage, one yet may come, armored, invincible. And some people asked me about it after the class yesterday, and I had to think about it a bit. And I think we have to see it in the context of the poem. This is Narad speaking. Narad is saying, one yet may come. And this whole story is supposed to have taken place long back in time. Asvapati is supposed to have been, is presented as the first one who had the Vedic knowledge. And Savitri belongs to that far back time when Aurobindo said something needed to be opened, some new possibility. So when we come towards the end of the poem, then the Supreme Lord is prophesying to Savitri that your life and Satyavan's life are preparing something in the far future, and you will have to come again and again until the hour of the mighty mother draws near. So I think it's like that, looking forward into the future. But even that world Redeemer, he has to enter into the inconscient to learn its workings and its law. And there's a description of the inconscient. All rose from the silence, all goes back to its hush. Its somnolence, the somnolence of the inconscient, founded the universe. Its obscure waking, when evolution just starts and begins, if we see only that, the world seems vain, useless, futile. So I will start from there. Arisen from nothingness, and towards nothingness turned. Its dark and potent nescience was earth's start. It is the waste stuff from which all was made. Into its deeps, creation can collapse. Its opposition clogs the march of the soul. It is the mother of our ignorance. He, this is the world Redeemer, he must call light into its dark abysms. Else never can truth conquer matter's sleep, and all earth look into the eyes of God. All things obscure, his knowledge must relume. All things perverse, his power must unknot. He must pass to the other shore of falsehood's sea. He must enter the world's dark to bring there light. The heart of evil must be bared to his eyes. He must learn its cosmic dark necessity, its right and its dire roots in nature's soil. He must know the thought that moves the demon act and justifies the titan's erring pride and the falsehood lurking in earth's crooked dreams. He must enter the eternity of night and know God's darkness as he knows his sun. For this he must go down into the pit. For this he must invade the dolorous vasts. Imperishable and wise and infinite, he still must travel hell, the world to save. Into the eternal light he shall emerge, on borders of the meeting of all worlds. There, on the verge of nature's summit steps, the secret law of each thing is fulfilled. All contraries heal their long dissidence. There meet and clasp the eternal opposites. Their pain becomes a violent, fiery joy. Evil turns back to its original good, and sorrow lies upon the breasts of bliss. She has learned to weep glad tears of happiness. Her gaze is charged with a wistful ecstasy. Then shall be ended here the law of pain. Earth shall be made a home of heaven's light. A seer heaven-born shall lodge in human breasts. The superconscient beam shall touch men's eyes, and the truth-conscious world come down to earth, invading matter with the Spirit's ray, awaking its silence to immortal thoughts, awaking the dumb heart to the living word. This mortal life shall house eternity's bliss. The body's self taste immortality. Then shall the world Redeemer's task be done. You begin, Dhanalakshmi.
Arisen from nothingness and towards nothingness turned. Its dark and potent nestlings was earth's start. It is the waste stuff from which all was made. Into its deep, creation can collapse.
So this is the inconscience, no? It rose up out of nothingness It's turned towards nothingness. It's longing to go back into the nothingness. That dark and powerful, potent means powerful, nescience, not knowing, was Earth's start, the beginning of Earth. Earth meaning the material principle. We have the word science, which means knowledge. Nescience means no knowledge. That nescience, that inconscience, is the waste stuff from which all was made. Out of it, all that, those scattered remnants, all that chaos. And because it is the waste stuff from which all was made, into its deeps, creation can collapse. Everything can go back into that nothingness. Suresh?
Its opposition knows the march of the soul. It is the mother of our ignorance.
So it's that opposition, it's the resistance of the inconscience, which clogs it. Clogs, that's what's happened to your feet if you have to walk through sticky mud. You get great red shoes of clay. No? Here it happens to us in the rainy season. Can't move. The soul wants to march forward, but it's always being hindered by this resistance of the inconscience, which is the mother. It has given birth to our ignorance, our half-knowing. Bebel.
He must call light into its dark abysses, else never can choose one clear majesty, and all birds look into the eyes of God.
So he, the world redeemer, his task is to call light into those dark, deep places. An abysm, it's a very deep hole. He has to bring the light into the darkness. If he doesn't do that, then truth will never be able to conquer this sleepy, unconscious state of matter. But that is the aim of the world Redeemer, to enable all earth to look into the eyes of God, to become conscious and aware of the divine. Bhavan?
All things obscure his knowledge must reveal. All things perverse his power must unknow. He must pass to the other shore of falsehood sea. He must enter the world's dark to bring their light.
Yes. Relume. We have the word illumine. And lume has to do with light. He has to bring light back into everything which is dark, everything which is obscure and confused and shadowy. And everything which has become perverse. Perverse means twisted. Things are not straight and direct the way that they should be. They've become twisted and deformed. His power has to unknot, untie all those twists and turns and straighten everything out. For this, he has to pass to the other shore of the sea of falsehood, the ocean of falsehood. He has to enter the darkness of the world in order to bring there light. This is the task of the world redeemer. Alice, would you read?
The heart of evil must be bared to his eyes. He must learn its cosmic necessity, its right and its dire roots in nature's soul.
Yes, he has to, the heart of evil must be bared, it must be uncovered so that he can look right into the depths of it. He has to be able to penetrate it with his consciousness, because he needs, in order to transform it, he needs to learn what is the dark necessity which has brought it into the universe. What is that dark necessity for the existence of evil, which allows evil to exist in the cosmos, in the universe? What gives it the right to exist? What authority has said, yes, you can be there? No? And he has to find its roots. What are its roots in the soil of our nature which allows it to grow? If a plant has no roots, no soil to grow in, it can't grow. No? Dire roots, dreadful, terrible roots. Where are those roots? He must find them. Tamarai?
He must know the true thought was the demo fact and just the titans against brave
Pride.
and the falsehood lurking in earth's
Crooked.
then he must enter the kingdom of light and know God's darkness as he knows his son.
Yes. He, the world redeemer, must know the thought that's behind the evil act, the act that seems to be done by a demon, by a devil. What is the thought behind that gives that impulse? And what is the thought behind that justifies the existence of the Titan, the superhuman ego, with its erring pride? It has this tremendous sense of its own worth. But it is erring, it is mistaken. There's something perverted about it. But what is the thought behind that justifies that pride of the Titan, that gives it that enormous power? And he must know what justifies, what gives the right to that falsehood which is lurking, hiding in the crooked dreams of earth, as if there's something perverted, twisted, even in the dreams of earth. In her sleep, she's having these crooked dreams, and they get realized in material forms. So for all this, he must enter the eternity of night. He must know God's darkness as he knows his sun. He has come from the Son of God, but if he wants to change all this, it's his mission to change all this, he has to enter into the darkness of God. We like to think that God is only pure and good and full of love. It's difficult for us to accept that all the evil in the world, all the darkness, is also nothing else but the Lord, because there is only that. There is nothing else.
Crooked is an adjective or?
Yes, crooked means not straight. Crooked like a donkey's leg.
Aurobindo says the devil is Krishna at his tricks.
The devil is Krishna at his tricks. Yeah. He says these outrageous things, no? And he says that the wonderful thing about the Hindu religion, he said it's the only religion which has had the courage to see that everything is divine. Yeah. And yet everything has to be changed. The world Redeemer has to come. It's not meant to stay crooked and perverted like this. But unless we can recognize that it's the Lord himself, we won't be able to do that. So this is the task of the world Redeemer, to know God's darkness as he knows his Son. And of course that's what Aurobindo has done, and we have the record of it in some of his other poems. Of course in the description in Book 2, Canto 8, where Aswapati does precisely this and goes down into the very deepest levels of darkness and inconscience. And we find it also in a couple of Sri Aurobindo's sonnets. For example, the sonnet called Night. And there's the famous longer poem, A God's Labor, where he describes how he has to go down into the filth and the dirt and dig there in order to make a bed for the golden river's song, for the higher light to be able to flow down and realize those dreams he has of the earth. Mahalingam.
For this, you must go down into the pit. For this, you must invade the earth's past.
You can read the next two lines.
Imperishable and wise and infinite, he still must travel hell, the world to save.
So into the pit, into the deepest, darkest abysm. He must invade, he must push his way into those vasts, the dolorous vasts that are full of sorrow and suffering. He himself is imperishable. He can't die. He's wise. He's infinite. But he must accept a human form and go down into these lower levels. He still must travel hell, the world to save. Class?
Into eternal light he shall emerge, to the borders of the meeting of all worlds. There on the verge of nature's summit steps, the sacred law of each thing is fulfilled. All contraries yield their long precedence.
Yes. The amazing thing is, if you go deep down into the darkness, you get cast up into the light. Mother has described this experience, how she went deep. She's given a message about it, that I went down into the, I don't remember the exact words, the deepest, most obscure and stifling darkness. And there I struck upon an almighty spring which cast me up forthwith into, I don't know, an atmosphere vibrating with the seeds of a new world. So, if we go, one who is empowered, who is strong enough, who's missioned, can do that, go down into the deepest, darkest levels and find there the wellspring. So he says, the world Redeemer, he will emerge. He goes down into the darkness, into the bottomless night, and he emerges, he comes out into the eternal light. And he comes out on the borders of the meeting of all worlds. There's a world where all worlds meet. That is the supramental world. That's on the edge, the very edge of the very highest steps of nature. The secret law of each thing is fulfilled. There's a wonderful passage at the end of Book 1, Canto 5, where Aurobindo describes that world where all worlds meet, and where all the things that have seemed opposite and contradictory, which have been struggling against each other, they all find their truth, and in their truth they are all harmonized and reconciled. So that's what he says here. The secret law, the hidden svabhava and svadharma of everything in the universe is found and fulfilled. And all the opposites, they heal their long dissidence. They've been disagreeing with each other all through the history of the universe. On that level, they heal their dissidence. They find that they are complementary and support each other. You like to read, Ma?
Yes.
Yes.
There meet and clash the eternal opposites. Their pain becomes a violent fiery joy. Evil comes back to its original good, and sorrow lies upon the breast of bliss. She learned to weep glad tears of happiness. Her gaze is charged with a wistful
Ecstasy. Yeah.
She there.
She here is sorrow. So the eternal opposites, we live in a world of opposites, of dualities, no? All the things that seem to be eternally opposite. But in that world, on the verge of nature's summit steps, they meet and they embrace each other. And the perversions, pain, becomes a violent, fiery joy, an intense joy. Evil turns back to its original good. There seem to be such opposite things, but on that level it finds its justification and its fulfillment, and it turns back to that original good from which it came. And sorrow embraces, lies upon the breasts of bliss, of Ananda. There in that world, sorrow has learned to weep glad tears, happy tears. And her eyes, those weeping eyes, those sad eyes, they still look a little bit sad, they look wistful. This is a word that means there's some longing, nostalgia, something like that. But actually what she's experiencing is ecstasy. That can be seen in her expression. Her gaze is charged with a wistful ecstasy. Joel.
Then shall be ended here the law of pain. Earth shall be made a home of heaven's light. A seer heaven-born shall lodge in human breast. The superconscient being shall touch men's eyes, and the truth-conscious world come down to earth, invading matter with the spirit's ray, awaking its silence to immortal thoughts, awaking the dumb heart to the living word.
Yes. So this is a wonderful prophecy on Narad's part. He's been asked, why is there pain? No? And he hasn't finished giving his answer. He will give more explanations about why there is pain. But here he's speaking about pain, particularly in the case of those great souls who come with a mission to change things on earth. What sufferings they have to go through in order to bring about the great change. But when it happens, then shall be ended here in this material world the law of pain. It won't be necessary for there to be pain and suffering anymore, because earth shall be made a home of heaven's light. And in human breasts, here we are with our ignorant feelings and half-knowledge, our souls clogged by the action of the inconscience. But when the world Redeemer's work is done, a seer, one who can see the truth, a rishi, heaven-born, born from heaven, divine, will be living in human breasts. Actually, that seer, heaven-born, maybe it's there already, but it hasn't opened its eyes. It's still clogged by this action of matter. No? That beam of light which is superconscient, above all our consciousness, it will come down and touch our eyes. We should be able to see things as they really are. The truth-conscious world, the world of supermind, will come down to earth. It will enter into matter, bringing the ray, the pure ray of the Spirit's existence and consciousness and bliss. It will wake matter up. It will awake the silence of matter up to immortal thoughts. It will wake up the dumb heart, the heart that can't express its deepest truth. It will wake it up to the living word, the word of creation, the word that says yes to everything.
Truth-conscious world is supramental world.
The truth-conscious world is the supramental world, yes. You'd like to read, sir?
Mortal life shall house eternity's bliss. body's self-taste, immortality. Then shall the world Redeemer's task be done.
Yes. So this is the aim of Sri Aurobindo's yoga. This is the aim of the world Redeemer, no? That this mortal life here in the material universe will be able to hold and live and express the ananda of the eternal, of eternity. Even the body will experience immortality. Spiritually, we can experience immortality. We can have that realization. But until matter is transformed, the body can't taste it. So only then will the world Redeemer's task be completed. At the beginning of the section, he said his work is half done. Now then it will be done completely. You'll read, Ganga Lakshmi?
Then was life carried seed of death, and sorrows plant the card in the slow night.
Thank you. So until the Redeemer's task is done, life must carry in it this seed of death. Whatever lives must die. And the plaint, the complaint, the sad sound of sorrow will be heard in this slow night, this night of ignorance, which is slowly changing, slowly passing. We will emerge into the day. So then he speaks directly, Narad speaks directly to us and advises us. Leela.
O mortal, bear this great world's law of pain. In thy heart passage through a suffering world. Lean for thy soul support on heaven's strength. Turn towards his truth. Aspire to love and peace.
So first of all, he advises us to learn to bear this law of pain, not to become strong and to be able to bear it. He says, yes, human beings have a hard passage. It's difficult to pass from birth to death through this suffering world. So we need help. He says, lean for thy soul's support on heaven's strength. Human beings may be able to help you, but eventually they will always let you down. It's only heaven's strength that can really support. So keep turned towards high truth. If you go up to Sri Aurobindo's room in the ashram, you will pass Mother's writing. She's written, cling to truth, hold tight, aspire to love and peace. Keep those as your guiding ideals. Sergei.
A little breeze is lent there from above, a touch divine upon thy human days. Make of thy daily way of pilgrimage, for through small joys and griefs thou movest towards God.
Yes. So a little bliss, a little delight is lent to you, not given to you. You can have it for some time. It comes from above. A touch divine upon thy human days. He's saying it in the singular. He's speaking to each of us. Of course, probably he's speaking to Savitri's mother, but we can take it that he's speaking to us. The advice he gives is to make of thy daily way a pilgrimage, If you're on a pilgrimage, you're making a journey from your home where you started to a sacred place. You're going there to get a blessing, a gift, a touch divine upon your human days. Then you know that you have to pass through a lot of hardships. That's even the point of the pilgrimage, no? That you do something which is not easy. People go on foot for thousands of miles, no, to reach the goal. So every day is a day that you spend on your pilgrimage, because through all the small joys and griefs of every day, you are moving towards God. We are all on the same pilgrimage. We're all going to reach there. So that helps us if we think of this. This helps us to bear the difficulties that we have to face on our daily way. And then he gives another advice. Mihong.
Haste not towards Godhead on a dangerous road. Open not thy doorways to a nameless power. Climb not to Godhead by the Titan's road.
Yes, now he's giving a warning. If we humbly go on our daily way, considering it a pilgrimage, we will reach the end safely. But there's another way, a dangerous road. If we are impatient and ambitious, we open our doors, our inner doors, the doors of our bodily house, to a dangerous power. And that may drive us to try to conquer heaven, to take heaven by storm, climb up to Godhead, to divinity, by the Titan's road. Aurobindo uses this word Titan, which is a word from Greek mythology. In Greek mythology, the Titans are the original gods, the powerful beings before there were the gods of light, the Olympian gods who brought light and order into the world. But in Savitri, Aurobindo, of course, uses it sometimes as an adjective, but he uses it as an equivalent of the Indian term Asura or Rakshasa. The Asuras and Rakshasas are beings who don't care about the divine at all. They don't recognize, or they may recognize his existence, but they want to use him for their own purposes. And they are ego-driven beings. The Rakshasas are driven by the vital ego, and the Asuras are driven by the mental ego. So the vital ego and the mental ego, and the two of them in collaboration, can drive us by a very dangerous road, an anti-divine road. So in the next sentence he describes... Yes, a power that doesn't have a name. He's not putting a name to it. It doesn't have the divine name. Some power may come. You can always ask it, what is your name?
You can say Titan's road is a falsehood road.
Sorry?
Falsehood. Falsehood.
The
Falsehood. Different. Asura is not falsehood.
No, the characteristic is that it's not ready to submit to the divine truth and law. It wants to impose its own will. So it's that distortion which is brought about by egoism, which is completely self-centered. It doesn't have any care for anybody else or anything else, only its own will and wish and preference. So we'll just read what is the characteristic of the Titan.
Against the law, he pits his single will. Across its way, he throws his pride of might. Heavenward he clambers on his tail of storm, aspiring to live near the deathless sun.
So there's some aspiration. There's a will for something higher. But he's opposing his single will against the divine law. And across the unfolding of the law, he puts his own pride of might. I'm so strong, I'm so powerful, do it my way. And some of those titans, those asuras, they have wanted to become great spiritual beings. There are stories like that. They clamber, climbing difficultly up the stair of storms towards heaven. But that's not the sunlit way that our soul should follow. He's aspiring to live as near as he can to the deathless sun. Rosa.
So here the pits is used as a verb.
Sorry? Pits, to pit. Yes, it means to oppose, to compete. We pit two boxers against each other to see which one is strongest.
He strives with the giant strength to wrest by force from life and nature the immortal's right. He takes by storm the world and fate and heaven.
Yes. So this is another characteristic of the Titan, his giant strength. And he uses that giant strength to seize, to wrestle by force the right of the immortal. He wants to get that from life and from nature. He wants to take by storm. An army storms a point that it wants to conquer, to overcome. So the Titan tries to rule the world and fate and heaven, all according to his own will, with his own strength. Arisen from nothingness, and towards nothingness turned, its dark and potent nescience was earth's start. It is the waste stuff from which all was made. Into its deeps creation can collapse. Its opposition clogs the march of the soul. It is the mother of our ignorance. He must call light into its dark abysms, else never can truth conquer matter's sleep, and all earth look into the eyes of God. All things obscure, his knowledge must relume. All things perverse, his power must unknot. He must pass to the other shore of falsehood's sea. He must enter the world's dark to bring their light. The heart of evil must be bared to his eyes. He must learn its cosmic dark necessity, its right and its dire roots in nature's soil. He must know the thought that moves the demon act and justifies the Titan's erring pride and the falsehood lurking in earth's crooked dreams. He must enter the eternity of night and know God's darkness as he knows his sun. For this he must go down into the pit. For this he must invade the dolorous vasts. Imperishable and wise and infinite, he still must travel hell the world to save. Into the eternal light he shall emerge, on borders of the meeting of all worlds. There, on the verge of nature's summit steps, the secret law of each thing is fulfilled. All contraries heal their long dissidence. There meet and clasp the eternal opposites. There pain becomes a violent, fiery joy. Evil turns back to its original good, and sorrow lies upon the breasts of bliss. She has learned to weep glad tears of happiness. Her gaze is charged with a wistful ecstasy. Then shall be ended here the law of pain. Earth shall be made a home of heaven's light. A seer heaven-born shall lodge in human breasts. The superconscient beam shall touch men's eyes, and the truth-conscious world come down to earth, invading matter with the Spirit's ray, awaking its silence to immortal thoughts, awaking the dumb heart to the living word. This mortal life shall house eternity's bliss, the body's self taste immortality. Then shall the world Redeemer's task be done. Till then, must life carry its seed of death, and sorrow's plaint be heard in the slow night. O mortal, bear this great world's law of pain. In thy hard passage through a suffering world, lean for thy soul's support on heaven's strength. Turn towards high truth, aspire to love and peace. A little bliss is lent thee from above, a touch divine upon thy human days. Make of thy daily way a pilgrimage, for through small joys and griefs thou moves towards God. Haste not towards Godhead on a dangerous road. Open not thy doorways to a nameless power. Climb not to Godhead by the Titan's road. Against the law he pits his single will. Across its way he throws his pride of might. Heavenward he clambers on a stair of storms, aspiring to live near the deathless sun. He strives with a giant strength to wrest by force from life and nature the immortal's right. He takes by storm the world and fate and heaven.